On the 19th of May 2022, over 144 people, mainly students, were beginning to cross a notoriously dangerous footpath crossing in Farnborough when a train travelling at 69 miles per hour came into view. What occurred was an incident that was a whisker away from becoming one of the UK's worst train disasters. Join us as we take a look at the full incident, step by step, seeing CCTV footage of the last moments, and discovering how a safety system installed was completely ineffective on the day. The footpath crossing, located a short distance south of Farnborough North Station and next to the vehicle level crossing as shown, crosses two tracks known as the down and up lines, with the up line carrying services to Guildford, Redhill and Gatwick Airport, and the down line carrying services to Wokingham and Reading. The crossing is deemed by its owners, Network Rail, as being very high risk for a number of reasons. Due to its location being next to a sixth form college as shown, it's mainly used by children going to and from school, therefore these are seen as vulnerable users of the crossing. Another factor is the calculation conducted by Network Rail that for the safe use of the crossing, a train driver should be able to sight the crossing or what's called a minimum sight distance of at least 395 metres. Due to the bend in the track, however, the sighting distance is only 366 metres as seen. At 985 metres away, equipment in the track detects an approaching train which activates miniature warning lights circled, turning them from green to red with an audible warning alarm. A crossing attendant, located in the cabin circled, is employed to activate electromagnetic locks on the two gates via a switch when they see and hear the lights and audible alarm. At 0702, Train 1 Victor 38, a 3-car Class 165 diesel multiple unit, was running the Gatwick Airport to Reading service, yet despite leaving on time, it arrived at Guildford Station, the station before Farnborough, 18 minutes late due to another earlier incident. As a result, the driver was informed at Guildford Station that the train's plan was to change and it would run non-stop from Guildford to Reading instead of stopping at Farnborough Station. The information screen on platform 1 displayed a cancelled service indication, which caused the footpath attendant to believe that it would not be arriving at all. At roughly the same time, train 1 Oscar 59, also a 3-car Class 165 diesel multiple unit, running the 0750 Reading to Gatwick Airport, arrived on the up line at platform 1 at Farnborough. Due to this train, the footpath crossing was now closed with a red light, and over 144 people, mainly students, were now waiting to cross. After train 1 Oscar 59 left, the footpath attendant used the switch as shown to open the gates, allowing people to cross. At this point, the attendant was unaware that train 1 Victor 38 was approaching on the downline, having believed it was cancelled. This CCTV image from the front of the train shows it travelling at 69 miles per hour, starting to approach the bend before the station. All of a sudden, the light unexpectedly changed to red with an audible sound, which prompted the attendant to switch the door's electromagnets to lock the doors when shut. However, many people on the footpath were now holding the door open for the next person, meaning that the door switches were completely ineffective. This CCTV image shows a sight that any train driver fears seeing. You can just make out a packed footpath full of people which should have been empty at 320 metres away. The driver slammed in the emergency brakes and sounded the horn continuously for 10 seconds. The attendant, who by now was shouting for people to move off the path, seen that this was having no effect and quickly jumped out, physically forcing people off the path and closing the gates. This final image shows the train just 6 seconds away. You can see the attendant in orange behind the right gate, and many people to the left still waiting to cross, 36 people to be precise. You can imagine the fear in both the attendant and driver in those last seconds. The train came to a stop, and despite being visibly shaken, the driver reported the incident and carried on to Reading. The lights were tested by Network Rail and were working correctly. The RAIB, due to the near miss, were quickly on the scene. The RAIB discovered that the crossing had disturbingly experienced over 70 safety incidents between 2008 and 2012. After looking at a report conducted by a specialist human factors consultant in 2014, on average over 1,798 people and 164 cyclists use the crossing daily, with most being students, and many displayed behaviours such as placing their head down and being distracted whilst walking across. Many users failed to look up at the lights, and the majority never checked for trains. This resulted in the employing of a crossing attendant. I can't work out that after so many near misses, with it being incredibly busy and used by mainly students, then surely it would be more safety and cost effective to install a bridge rather than paying someone indefinitely. This idea, in fact, was first proposed in 2014. Remarkably, since 2012, you can see from this timeline, the crossing has seen countless risk assessments, meetings, design modifications, including many different organisations. But apart from a few small safety additions, not much had changed. You can see, even in 2014, Network Rail identified a major risk, with people potentially becoming blocked back and being unable to safely shut the door. Yet when a meeting was called to discuss this and installing a temporary footbridge, it was cancelled due to an illness of the delivery manager. This was never reconvened. Over the next 4 years, despite many risk assessments and meetings, the constant change of sponsors and project managers was blamed for the continued lack of action on the crossing. In 2018, Network Rail submitted a planning application for a stepped bridge as seen, yet 3 days later the planning officer responded saying it was invalid, citing concerns with local stakeholders. A further risk assessment was again conducted in 2021 and identified serious risks, but these were seen to be controlled by the crossing attendant. The RAIB concluded that when examining the role of the attendant, his method of work was to ensure the safety of pedestrians by reacting to the light, and they were not required to look at screens to identify incoming trains. The RAIB were very critical of the lack of risk assessment carried out of the role, including the plan if the gates were unable to be closed. The attendant was unable to control the flow of passengers going onto the crossing, and in the RAIB's view, should have access to train schedules that day. The RAIB were very positive of the role played by the attendant that day and praised their quick response to closing the crossing, despite being inside the cabin as shown. This could have been one of Britain's darkest days on the railway, with potentially multiple casualties being only a whisker away if it wasn't for a quick response. Unbelievably, this was foreseen over 9 years earlier. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe for more real life horror videos.